you look at the tiller here, it's just in bad shape. Needs a lot of cleaning and revarnish, maybe even some epoxy on it. And the rudder, the bottom part that goes into the water here, it looks like it needs a lot of help also, a little love. But that'll get us started. This is the rudder for the sailboat. I'm going to go ahead and sand it down, get all this cleaned off, see what the wood looks like underneath. And through the power of video, there we go, look. Got it all sanded down. Looks like it's pretty good wood. We'll go ahead and put some epoxy made to go into the wood on here. And then I'll fix some epoxy filler and fill in any holes or little notches that are cut out, like this one right here. And then we'll sand it down again. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. Okay, I have the bottom of the rudder here. If you come out, it comes out to be a beautiful redwood, I think. It looks like termites got into it a little bit, which isn't bad since it's been in the water and that. The coating on this hasn't protected it as much as it should, and it looks like somebody may have left it in the dirt, and that's what happens. Termites gets in there, but it's still hard wood. I'll go ahead and put some epoxy on it, and I'm planning on fiberglassing it. I went ahead and sanded it down with 60 grit sandpaper to get all the paint and the varnish off. And then I went ahead and went over it with 150 to smooth it out. Gives a great look at it. You can see the grain in the wood very well. I thought this was a beautiful piece until I got to the next part of the rudder, which was, this doesn't go in the water all of the time. I still need to sand it down, but you can see a beautiful grain pattern all through the wood. I started to sand it down up here. It's very smooth, and then I got to smooth this out. I think that it's going to be a beautiful piece of wood once I go ahead and get it all finished and put back together. So we'll see. Okay, so it's been about 18 hours since we put the epoxy on here. So you see it's pretty dry. Normally you can go ahead and break this stuff off and reuse the containers. Make a wire out of me. but it's dry to the touch. It actually kicked off faster than it was supposed to. It's supposed to give me at least 30 minutes to lay it down. As you can tell, as I got over here, it's more blotchy because it was kicking off already. But if we go ahead and we take a look at this, we'll be able to see how it absorbed into the wood. So you can see right here it absorbed into the wood pretty good. When the wood is dry, it just sucks in the epoxy and gets down into the grains. The more porous the wood is, the better it absorbs into the grain. You'll actually see where there's some hairline cracks here. The epoxy actually sucked down into those cracks and got into there very good. And when you sand it down, get a second coat on there, it'll suck it down in there even more. On the cut side here, you can see that I put a thick coat on here and it just absorbed it all inside the wood. So that's what we want it to do. We want it to get sucked up in there, get into these little bitty cracks and fill it all in and make it tight. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll sand it down, get rid of all the blotchiness, get all the thick parts off, get it back down to almost wood again, and we'll most likely get another coat on here, especially in places where it absorbed into the wood, and it should start to look pretty good. Okay, I wanted to show you that what it looks like when you're sanding it down. It's really ashy. This dust on there doesn't come off, but that's not a problem. We're going to wipe it down with acetone before we put the next layer of epoxy on there, and we want to get just about all of the epoxy off that we put on there before. The first coat is just made to go into the cracks and seal it up so we won't have problems with the board again. Also, I haven't sanded on this side yet, but I wanted to show you. When I did the epoxy, I didn't let it set and get all the bubbles out, and you can see how it has bubbles all in the layer of epoxy. That's something you have to watch out for when you're putting epoxy on. You have to put it on thin, and you have to let it set a little bit to let all of the bubbles out. But the reason why I didn't let it set is because on the other side it was getting tacky before I was finished, and I wanted to go ahead and fill in, like right here. I put epoxy on there, but it absorbed into the wood, and it could still take some more epoxy. So the next coat will go ahead and help with that. I finished sanding the tiller, and like I said, it's going to have dust on it. Right before we go ahead and put the epoxy on, I'll get the acetone after it, and I wanted to go ahead and take a look at it, and I sanded this down with the detailed sandpaper, and the wood looks pretty good. I like how it's going to look. So we'll go ahead and finish sanding this stuff down and get to the next step. Okay, haven't been getting videos out like I've been wanting to. I've been wanting to get at least one video a month out, and I've been falling behind because it's the first time I'm doing this, and my editing's not that good, and my videos aren't that good yet. I'm hoping to make them better. I don't want to get into how to do this, how to do that. I just want to go ahead and make a log of what I did with my boat, the problems that I had with how I did it, and how I corrected them and made it better. Well, what I'm going to do is in this video, I'll give you an update on what I've done so far and get this video out so I can get working on the next video, and hopefully I'll have this stuff finished up. On the rudder, I've been putting the epoxy on there too thick. It takes a long time to sand down and a lot of work, but it's coming out pretty good. I'm going to put another coat of epoxy on here, a little thick, with a thickener in it, and I'll go ahead and scrape as much as I can off with a smooth surface, a spatula basically, to make sure that it's smooth. And then I'll go ahead and work on the fiberglass over the bottom part of the rudder. The tiller, it looks good. I haven't sanded this down. I want to go ahead and wet sand it or something, because there's a little dimple here where it was dripping off, and there's little bitty spots risen up on it. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it at this. I found a rudder like this for like 40 bucks at West Marine or something, so it's not a real expensive piece of equipment. I'm also working on the slide for the cockpit hatch. I found that if I get the epoxy, put it on there, and then I'll go ahead and smooth out the epoxy as much as I can, and I'll even go over it with a paper towel to clean off any excess, and then let it dry. That seems to be working the best, so I'll continue with that. I started block sanding the back. You'll see, you can actually see it's brighter where the wood came through with the block sanding, and that's normally where the bolt holes are, where it was pinched down onto the boat. So I'll go ahead and block sand it and get this to where it's flat, it fits flat onto the top of the cockpit? No. The cabin. On this one, it was sticking. It actually had a part that was rotten, so I went ahead and picked out the rotten part of it and got some thickened epoxy, filled it in, and then sanded it down. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put another coat on here and wet sand it. I don't know if you can tell, the gloss is gone because I wet sanded it before on this one. And also my epoxy has been coming up with little bubbles on it and that. Maybe somebody wants to post on there how to make sure it doesn't do that. But I can probably just wet sand it real lightly and get rid of those little rough marks and get a nice shine out of it. I've been basically painting it on the epoxy and then smoothing it out and getting a paper towel and cleaning off any excess. But like I said, I don't want to get into how to do this because there's people that know better. But I just want to document what I'm doing on my boat, and hopefully it'll help somebody else out. So if you like my videos, go ahead and click like, leave a comment, go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, I hope to have a video a month, maybe 2 videos if I start getting good at this, once every 2 weeks. And I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.